It's pretty simple. You hire a team, well, that gets messy because those are people who have typically spouses or significant others, who have children, who have other things going on. And there's just a lot of stuff you have to walk through with that. But I love that part. People's what wakes me up in the morning. So I like dealing with all the mess and all the hair. And some days I don't like it probably as much as others, but at the end of the day, that's just how God made me. So.
Welcome, everyone, to the At Depth podcast. Today, we're going to go deep with Stephen Lowery. You know, I could sit here and give a nice, fun, long intro about Stephen, but I don't think it'll be nearly as interesting as the introduction he gives of himself. He is the founder, owner, CEO, head honcho of Redbeard Capital.
Yeah.
Are you the Redbeard?
I am a Redbeard. I do have one.
I feel like before you tell us about you, is the name Redbeard Capital derived from the fact that you have a red beard, or is there some other story we need to know here?
It originally was supposed to be a nautical themed, and too many people thought we were pirates and we were out to take their booty. So we had to quickly pivot. And my co-founder at the time, he also had a red beard, but he loved hunting elk, and so did I. He helped me shoot my first one, and they have an auburn red neck, so we went with it. And the only reason I have a red beard is because I had 2 redheaded children and 2 blondes, and no one could figure out where the red came from, so I grew my beard out to stop the questions. And they're telling me, my kids are on to me saying we're going to have to go to Graybeard Capital here in a little bit. So
take us on the journey from not Redbeard to Redbeard before you tell us what Redbeard does and is. Give us the backstory. I mean, were you playing t-ball in your underwear when you were a kid?
Born and raised in Midland, Texas, out here in the oil patch. That word is coming around more. Not many of us use it out here, but after the series Landman, everyone outside of Midland is asking me if I'm from the patch. And so that's where I was born and raised, and went up north after graduating to Texas Tech and came back. Wreckham, by the way. We got a big game coming up in a couple weeks, so this is our year to shine. But anyway, came back, got an accounting degree, and went to work and doing tax work and public accounting. Rolled out of there into an oil field service company after 4 years of slave labor there, and jumped into it. And we flipped out of that oil field service company over in 2011. Anyway, went from there to inside a family office and worked there till 15, kind of learned the ins and outs of alternative investments and what family offices do. And I didn't even know what a family office was at the time. That was all pre-Redbeard. And then in 2015, our owner decided to move to Dallas. My wife was pregnant with our second kid, and she looked at me straight in the face and said, "I'm not leaving." So
yes, ma'am.
I said, "You got it. I will figure it out."
There's going to be a bunch of people listening to this thing. They're going to hate me for asking this question, but I want to tell all of you, hang on. Like, sometimes it's okay to ask questions that you think you know the answer to. And for everyone else, you're going to be so grateful that I'm about to ask this question. Can you please tell us, what does a family office do?
So a traditional family office, at least the ones I've been involved with, they're a wealthy family who hire a bunch of professionals to come in and help manage and grow their wealth. And it can take many shapes and forms, and some of them act more like private equity groups, and they're backing entrepreneurs, and some of them are smaller and they outsource a lot of their capital into money managers or large public equity groups that help manage the public equity platform. But the ones that I've worked in are primarily focused on alternative investments.
And if you had $1 bajillion just plop in your lap,
if I won the lotto, my friends told me it was up to 800 million the other day.
Buy a ticket, baby. Come on.
Can't win if you don't play.
Can't win if you don't play. Let's just say you ran it. What would you do with your money? Would you go stand up a family office, or are you going hand it to a money manager and say, "I'm in Maui for the rest of my life. Keep me in the money"?
I'm a family office guy through and through. I'd hire a team, and I love the alt game and just finding different deals and being a part of it. So that's the route I'd go for sure.
I am sure that the game is rigged because you never hear of like a financially sound person winning the lottery. They make sure that no one who's going to win does what you just said.
Yeah. If Elon Musk wins the lotto, no one cares. That's boring.
That's right.
Right? I mean, what's the point?
So roll that into Redbeard. I mean, you've got this perspective. People with mucho bucks develop a business that sole purpose is to maintain and grow money.
Yep.
So tell me about Redbeard and where you fit in that scale.
Sure. Yeah. So we started Redbeard January 1 of 16. So we're coming up on, what is that? 9 years. And when we first started out, the idea was that we'd be a small private equity firm focused on smaller deals that fly under the radar, help professionalize them, get them up and sell them. So started down that path and starving to death in the meantime,
Yep.
And so we started kind of bumping into whatever we could that made sense, where we could provide value and help people out. We saw a lot of deals still. My partner at the time, Rex, he came from another family office. I came out of the Henry family office, and we still had a lot of those connections. And from time to time, you'd run into a group who wanted to meet people. And so we started helping our investor network, kind of the family office network we had out here in West Texas, and plugging them into deals. And in the meantime, we were trying to put our own together. And so kind of through that experience, really, when we find an opportunity, we're just trying to help the operator at that point in time, whoever comes to us with an opportunity or the idea that's uncovered. And we're trying to back them with all the professionalized investment, back office, all those functions, because they're good at whatever widget they're making or whatever they're trying to buy and flip. They're really good at that evaluation or that process. And so we're trying to aggregate the capital for them and help them scale it up. So that's really kind of been our focus.
I know this guy who has a wonderful brand development business that's really found a lot of value for a lot of small businesses over the past 15 years.
I've read about this guy before. I hear
just
great
saying.
things. I know. I hear great things. So it's on our board.
It's great. I mean, I was having a great kind of silly conversation with someone today about, he's got a big oil and gas operating company, and we did a brand development project for him. And the call today was like, Ben, this stuff works. I was like, oh man, you've got a story to tell. He told a beautiful story about a woman who interviewed with them, and she said, I've been in traditional energy for 35 years. I was decided I was not going to do energy anymore. It's just killed me. And I was interviewing at all these other businesses in different industries to try to find a job. And I came across your company, and I said, if 10% of what they said on here is even remotely true, they could keep me in the industry. Then the team interviewed her and decided she's a perfect fit for their company. They hired her and said, like, she's been a dynamic, amazing hire. And I'm like, whoa,
See?
it works.
It works.
He's like, key player, man. We could never have attracted a key player. So that was that was the call before this podcast. I'm like, dang, man.
Yeah.
What else can we do?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me hit record next time.
So you're adding value to these people in some really meaningful ways. And we're going to jump back into that for a second. But tell me a little bit about where Redbeard's headed. I mean, what do y'all want to accomplish in the next 10, 15 years? When you sort of sit and dream a little bit about yourself, what are the things that light your fire and the things that you want to do more and more and more of?
For me, what gets me up in the morning is helping people. And I got connected to my new partner on our latest fund, Redstone Non-op. So we got connected in January, and he had been executing a plan, but was ready to scale it. And super talented young guy. He's only a few years younger than me, really smart. And so we started working on it together, and now just about to close out our fundraise. We already got 3 deals under our belt, and it's been a blast. I love it. Right. And so really, when I sit back and think of what do we want to be? What do we want to go accomplish? What do we want to do? It's really just sit there and help people, other entrepreneurs, other guys and gals who are trying to accomplish something, help set the table, help guide them, help provide the opportunity, because that's fun for me, right? And that's what people have done for me all along my career. I've been an entrepreneur from a young age, which I know when I gave my intro, I kind of skipped over kind of some of my entrepreneurial stuff.
Oh,
but
I'm writing this down because we're going back.
Even now today, a lot of people will catch me. I knew when you were young and you were selling so-and-so, like, I knew this was going to happen. And so it's been a great ride, and I love being a part of it with others. I'm not typically somebody who wants to go at it alone. I have to have partners. Kind of my saying is, it's fun to win, but when you win alone, there's only one person to celebrate with. But if you can do it with a group of people or more than one, it's a lot more fun.
So let's talk about that for a second. I mean, how do you pick the people that you want to go win with?
Oh,
This is a real question, because there's a lot of people out there that would, when you say like life's better with partners, they'll look at you and be like,
no.
you're an idiot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he hasn't been in a bad one.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's tough. Man, I wish there was a science to it. I really do.
Me too.
It'd be a lot easier. Finding like-minded people to go team up with is hard. And look, as we grow older, people change. I'm going to change. The situations are going to change. Life is sticky. People are messy. That's why you see everyone chasing all these passive investments where they don't have to hire anybody or deal with anyone. And that's the temptation. Your question before is, if hit the lotto, what do? Give it to a money manager, or do you hire a team? Well, if you give it to a money manager, you can go do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
You just open up every day, see how your equity portfolio is doing, make sure all your bonds good order, and keep up with what the Fed's doing. And it's pretty simple. You hire a team, well, that gets messy because those are people who have typically spouses or significant others, who have children, who have other things going on. And there's just a lot of stuff you have to walk through with that. But I love that part. People's what wakes me up in the morning. So I like dealing with all the mess and all the hair. And some days I don't like it probably as much as others, but at the end of the day, that's just how God made me. So
How do you deal with conflict? Let's just go there.
oh man.
Let's just say it's messy. Let's say you've got a partnership with somebody and just gets messy. Give me the Stephen Lowery path. Walk me down the path.
Well, I don't ignore it. I hit it head on, but a lot of people think when you deal with conflict, you go in there, slam the fist down. Every situation is a little different how you need to handle it. But if you deal with reasonable people and have a conversation and start there, and if everybody recognizes that there's an issue, it's much easier to deal with, right? There's always a way to figure it out. Now, when greed sets in a side of partnership, it's a lot harder to figure it out. And so when you start putting people first and money second, you can get through the problems a little bit easier. It's easy to say if there's not a ton of money on the line, or if you don't have a fiduciary responsibility to other people behind you because you're their voice. For me, it's just starting that conversation and trying to walk through it. But I don't ignore conflict. The way I was raised, I have 3 sisters. My family's loud, like very opinionated. And so even you can ask my brother-in-laws or my wife, when they see us have conflict, they're like, wow. It is out in the open. It's right there, but we get through it. We hug it out. And before we go home, we're done. We're not going to sleep angry. That's how I was raised. So that's kind of my natural inkling. I like to think I have a high EQ and I can read the room. And with 3 sisters, you don't really have a choice but to figure that out. My buddies give me a hard time because if I'm talking to a lady, my voice sounds maybe a little different over the phone than
Yes.
talking to a dude. And it's just, a little different. I'm not going to answer the phone the same way when my sister calls me than when my dad calls me.
It's a powerful thing to be able to regulate that way.
And I do it without thinking. It's not like I got to go prep. It's just I've been trained. That muscle's been working for 40 years. So
I've got 2 sisters. I'm the middle of 2 sisters. So I got an older and a younger. And it's funny. My wife sometimes will say to me, she'll interact with other husbands and she's like, I can totally tell when someone wasn't raised with girls. I'm like, oh, you can you? She's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, is that a good thing? She's like, oh, no, it's a great thing. I love that you had sisters. They trained you well. I'm like, oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, the thing we have to worry about is making sure we're not too soft, right? I mean, that's where I had some good buddies to make sure that, I still grew up. I didn't have brothers, but they made sure it looked like I had a little bit of time with a brother. So
I always in life had a brother figure or 2. And I will say, very grateful for those guys.
me too. It makes it more interesting and a lot more fun, but man, I get some crap from them. So,
I like this. We're kind of going back in time, and I told you I was going to get back here, but you said you started off as a young entrepreneur, and I'd love to just swap stories for a second. Like, give me some early days, Stephen Lowery,
oh man.
entrepreneurial ventures. Like, give me some juicy ones here.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I think it was 4th grade. My older sister, her best friend, her dad was a worship leader at our church. And so he had a recording studio at his house. And so every year from like 5th grade, they might have even done it their senior year. For her birthday, they'd go to her house and her dad would just record them singing these songs for, hours. And they would make these little cassette tapes. Well, my sister was, very popular. Everyone loved her and all her friends. And their group was called the Hotties. And so she's 2 years older than me. And all my friends just thought it was the coolest thing ever because they were it at school. We all went to the same school. We went to a small private school, Midland Christian, here in Midland, and we were all there together. And so my friends found out that I had these little cassette tapes of them singing. Well, demand started to come in. And so I would record these and take them to school and sell them. And so I would sell them to all the other little grade school girls who just thought they were really cool. That was my real first, like, outside the box, non-service, creating a product and finding a little niche market to go sell into. So,
So girl band artist manager was your
that
first
was it.
gig?
Yeah. Yeah. Their royalties were $0, right? I was out the cost of the tapes. I wasn't going to pay them anything. So that was the first dive.
That's right in line with the music business, man. Come on.
What about your first one? What was your first entrepreneurial gig?
Oh, get ready. I think my first one was my grandfather hated cedar trees. The Texas Hill Country, the cedar trees, like the bane of your existence. And
Yes.
every rancher's like, those damn cedar, get them out of here. And they spray them and they poison them and they do all number of things to try to get rid of those sweet juniper trees. And so my grandfather, he figured child labor was the solution. So he would pay me $2 an hour to take loppers. And the expectation was that you take these loppers that were the size of you were low to the ground. So you would get down and you'd lop it off like right at the base. And then he would just start mowing that pasture more regularly so it couldn't grow back. So I would cut cedar for $2 an hour from my grandfather. And I'll let you do the math, but I saved up $200.
Whoa. Wow. That's a lot of days in the field with some lots.
It's $200. I hope my parents listen to this and I hope they call me up and like, buddy, that's totally not what happened. Like he gave you $200. You did it for like 30 minutes. But in my estimation, I went from doing the cutting the cedar to the $200. And my dad said, hey, do you want to know what investing is? I think I was like 11 at the time, maybe 10. He said, I'm going to buy some steers and put them on our property. Do you want to take that $200 and buy a motorcycle helmet or do you want to buy a steer? And I was like, a motorcycle helmet? Duh. And he's like, well, sleep on it. Like, I was like, why would I buy a steer? He's like, well, glad you asked. I think what we can do is you could double your money in a year with the steer. And I was like, oh, shoot. Well, yeah, I'll do that because that's 2 motorcycle helmets.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I did, bought a steer and raised it to weight and then sold it as organic grass-fed beef to our friends. And I'm so sorry to all the friends who I know are listening to this who ate that beef. I'm sure some of you thought it was good. It was tough. It was grassy. We did not know what we were doing, but I doubled my money. And instead of buying a motorcycle helmet, I bought 2 steers the next year. And then at one point, Dad and I shared a herd. I think we had like 16 to 18 cows.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
It was a great gig, man.
That's awesome.
It was so fun. He took care of it. Like I did very little.
Do you have to go work of it all? Or it was just, you were just the investor. You were passively investing in steers.
I was passively investing. We get ice on the troughs. Dad would be like, hey, go break up the ice. And we're like, heck yeah. Like, yeah. I'll do that. I'll go take cubes out.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, my costs were 0. He let me keep all the upsides.
On entrepreneurial, not to skip over it, but I think if anybody knows me, everyone's favorite business I ever started is I graduate college. I moved back to Midland in 2008. There's no young people here. The oil boom hasn't really happened yet. It's just kind of starting the Sprayberry trend, all the cool stuff, fracking and all the horizontal and all those buzzwords that our people use now wasn't here. So I was hanging out with old people. All my friends were 50 years old or older. They would take me to the movies. They would feed me,
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, well, that's way better than finding another 22-year-old broke person. This is sweet. He had some horses in his backyard and he was complaining one day. I give him a hard time, call him a crotchety old man. He was complaining one day and, oh, my horse stepped in a gopher hole and broke his legs. I called this guy out of Lubbock and by God, he's going to charge me $50 an hour to come kill these gophers. That's just the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. He said $50 an hour. And I'm like, well, I work at a public accounting firm and I had to fight to make 18. I'm like, 50? I'm interested. Start asking him questions. I'm like, how is he going to do it? Like, why do you even do this? He's like, oh, he's got this thing called the Roadnator and it blows him up. He's got to charge me travel time and this and that. And I was like, well, there's a lot of gophers out here. Do people have them? He's like, if you got horses, you got gophers in West Texas. I was like, okay, well, so I went home, started Googling, figuring it out. I had $10,000 saved up, went into my dad. I was like, hey, I'm going to spend $5,000 and buy this Roadnator and outfit my 4-wheeler. And I'm going to start killing gophers. Like, you're trying to get through grad school. Have you lost your mind? Like, what do you talking about? Sure enough, I order everything, and then I got to come up with a name and a logo. I'm a big Caddyshack fan, right? And then obviously Bill Murray also did the Ghostbusters. It's Goof Busters, right? I got t-shirts made. I still have them.
Oh my gosh.
And people think I've lost my mind. So I start killing gophers, and pretty soon I learned that you really need to trap them because people don't believe you. When you blow something up, they're like, "Where are they dead?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I'd have to dig them up. I think
Probably.
I don't know. Would you live? I would die." And so we're out at our poker game, and it's again a bunch of old guys. They're all in their 50s, and they're just treat me like the poor young man. We're playing $10 a pot or something like that for every Monday night. And again, he feeds me, so I go over there for burgers and play poker, and they share all their wisdom about life. And they bet me on this gopher thing. They're like, "Well, I got something in my backyard. There's no way you actually can catch a thing." So I go get up from the poker table, set a trap, come back inside. About 10 minutes later, go out, check it, and bring a dead body in. And everyone was just mind blown. Like, it works? And so anyway, that's how I paid for grad school, and ended up hiring one of my high school buddies. He was a senior in high school at the time. And I set up a little plan because he was entrepreneurial too, and he didn't want to work by the hour. And I was like, "All right, I'll give you a percentage of billings." And so he could work his way up from 20% to 50% of billings. And he's 17 years old. And he's making $37.50 an hour, and I'm making the other $37.50. And ended up selling it to my high school teacher, and he ran it, just shut it down 2 years ago. So it was a long run.
Is that because he decimated the gopher population? Is that why he won?
I think he got tired of digging in the dirt, and chasing those little suckers. You want to see what a Texas pocket gopher looks like?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
By the way, for those of you who don't know, a gopher is not a prairie dog.
That's different critters.
Different critters. And it is not a mole. A mole is like a mouse or a rat, right? So this is a Texas, look at those teeth. Right? So that is a Texas pocket gopher.
That right there, I mean,
Look at those claws.
if people could see what a little family of those could do. So we had them in our yard. We lived out in the country. I remember half of our yard was a sand pit that these guys they leave these little
mounds of dirt.
Mounds of dirt. They look like little volcanoes.
Yeah, that's right.
And they don't make like one.
You know. Not many people know.
I was the obedient, helpful, like I could do cattle baron work all day long, but gopher killing was seen as pleasure. And so that was
Yeah, so people paid me $75 an hour to go kill them. To tip that off, right? You're thinking entrepreneurially. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But people would say, well, they still are coming back. So I had to design something to where I could still make money, but I needed to give them a discount. And so I created the Gopher Platinum Plan. And it was a monthly subscription to where if you took care of it, then I would maintain your yard.
okay. When you look at these companies and you look at any company, I mean, I would call that kind of like the high standard of entrepreneurial mindset, capability, ability. So let's just say you and I sit down for lunch. We're going to have a little beer there and, whatever the brewery is in Midland.
Yeah.
And I've got some big old idea, or I've got my little business. What are you looking for in people? What are you looking for at the people level of a deal or an opportunity?
So to me, my encouragement to young people is you don't have to go big all at once, right? People try to skip the proof of concept phase and go straight into hiring people and scaling it. And so really my favorite thing, I'm not going to say I'll look for it, but like when I see it, it grabs me, which is, hey, I got this idea. I think it'll work. I need help getting it started, but I'm going to do it on the side, right? I can't lose my house. I can't have my car taken away from me. Because if you go all in and you quit your job and you have no income and it's like live or die, look, I commend people who do it, but it's hard, right? And so someone who's willing to side hustle it and almost poor man it, right? Bootstrap it.
Yeah.
Get it done and then kind of try to get a little bit momentum, make sure it's working, work through it. That's really when someone sits me down with their idea and they have a way to start really small. And from there, once it's working, scale is a lot easier to solve for if it works.
You're right. Like scaling an idea that doesn't work is awful.
That's terrible. I'm not a VC guy, right? Venture capital is not what I do. I will do it,
Mm.
do it with my own money. But as far as raising capital, I'm not a VC guy. And I call them heroes or zeros. I'm just not a big hero or zero guy. And so I like simple stuff, stuff that makes sense. It does have a scalability to it, right? When you hit a
Mhm.
certain level. And the other thing when I was young that I didn't take into account enough was whatever business it is, whatever opportunity or idea you have, what is the lifestyle that you can create for the people around it? I currently own my very last, because I also became a franchisee of pretzels, cookies, and ice cream back in 2010. So that was my
Oh,
first business to buy.
they were hot and they were sexy in 2010.
The store made $25,000 a year, and I thought this was the greatest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
It took 12 months to make 25 grand. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
of course, my mentor and banker looked at me and he said, "You've lost your mind. You're going to be flipping pretzels for $8 an hour versus doing your accounting job for 18. Like, what are you doing? This is dumb." And I said, "Well, no, I can hire people. They've got people, it's already going, they make money in the food industry." Okay, let's just take these small franchises, for example. You get to provide a really good lifestyle for like one, maybe two people.
Yep.
And everybody else, at least in my shops, my experiences, everyone else are high school age, college age, or it's a part-time job, and it's hard. Versus if you started a business and you're like, "Hey, yeah, eventually we're going to scale and need 5 people. Oh, by the way, we'll be able to afford to pay somebody 50, 75, $100,000 for the various positions." That's a cool business. When you're trying to make a living and you can only pay people $10 an hour and plus give them tip share or whatever, it's hard.
I love this concept. It's funny that you're articulating it so well. Actually, it's not funny. It's amazing because I'm always looking for sort of a through line or a worldview, right? Because when things get hard, which they always do,
Always.
you fall back layers. Like a friend of mine, office is right behind me here. He talks about Maslow's hierarchy of needs more often than most. And, there's that pyramid that's so it's visceral, like the base thing you need is a core need for food and shelter and oxygen, right? Like that's the core need. And then from there, you need like kind of the next layer of what's necessary. Like you need others, right? So isolation is like next, like keeps you dead. And like you keep moving up. And finally, the very tippity top is this like need to be self-actualized, right? It feels like values and what we value in life sits as the ground on which that pyramid stands.
Yeah.
And when things get stressful and you're moving down the pyramid, you revert into the things you most believe. And I think people would argue with me on that. So I'm just going to let them argue with me in my head here for a second. And they would say like, "Ben, what about like when the hurricane hit Houston and you saw soccer dads like jumping on top of other people's cars, like screaming at them to give them gas or a lift or something like that? That looks animalistic." And what I would then say is like, well, no, society as a whole turns animalistic.
Yeah.
Like the groupthink is animal. But you go back to like early church history or like and honestly like go to any sort of great religious oppressive time in history where any great religion was being oppressed. I think about like early Christian church moving up through Rome and like those people would just look at him and be like, "Hey, what do you believe? And are you willing to die for it?" And those people would say like, "There's literally no food or shelter or anything in my life that would be more important than me believing this is true." That is what I think is the through line here is you've got these wonderful people. You're looking at them first before the bottom line
Yeah.
is what I heard you just do.
Yeah. At the end of the day, yeah, that's right.
Is this going to keep all of you people on the top of the pyramid? Then let's proceed with whatever, we can go with this idea.
Right. Any business you're running, and you've heard this saying a lot, which is you're either growing or you're dying.
Can we unpack that for a second, please?
I'd love to.
Just go. And I'm going to ask you some questions. I have like a visceral relationship with that phrase.
Even with my snack food shop, we started with 1, went to 2, 4, worked our way up to 17. Now I've worked my way all the way back down to 1, and it's been great, right? It changed my life. I think it's what led me to the point where I have Redbeard today. It's really provided me a lot of opportunities. But when you have really good people, when you've got somebody who's really good at their craft, right? Or a group of them, typically they are not interested in watching their skills go to waste. They are interested and engaged, and your success is because of the excitement, because of what you're able to accomplish. And so when there's no more mountain to climb, you start losing them. because they're looking for other mountains. They're like, oh, well, we've done that. Now I think it's time for me to, it's the same way in the nonprofit world. You see it all the time, which is you come in, your organization's struggling, and you've got to get it out of the ditch. It's really hard. 10 years later, it's like, well, we're kind of in a really good spot. And then people start going, well, it's probably a good time for me to leave then. I've done what I came to do, go do something else. And so you just lose really engaged, really successful, highly talented people. So the only way to do that is to continue to push for opportunities for everybody to grow together. And so that's the whole growing or dying. Now, there's a certain point in all of our careers where it's like, well, what did my dad call it? He was coming in for a smooth landing, right? So
Yeah.
the top, and he just wants to kind of coast on in there, touchdown. And so there's a point and a time and a space for that. But for a lot of these businesses, especially you look into the private equity space, everyone's chasing that next thing and to grow. And so that's where, to me, growing or dying, and we talk about all the time in our pipe business, because you become complacent once you stop growing. Right. It's easy to. And to me, that's like, hey, we probably should sell it. And that's where I got to with my snack food businesses is I'm not as engaged. I'm not trying to push it as much. So it's time for me to let somebody else take it and see if they can take it to the next level. And far too often in society, either greed sets in or something else, or it's ours, or our identity gets wrapped up into it. And so we become attached, and then they don't let it go. And so it just dies. I mean, it happens in real estate. We literally just put a deal under contract last week, and they had an offer for, I can't remember, 1.7. They had it listed at 1.9. This is like 6 years ago. $200,000 difference. They passed on it, holding out for another offer. The owners become disengaged. 6 years later, everything's been stolen out of it. No one took care of it. Now we have it under contract for $445,000.
Oh.
And so it's just, when you lose that engagement piece is when you start seeing assets erode. And it's the same whether it's taking care of your house, keeping up with the paint, the yard, the weeds, it's all that stuff. And you don't want your value to decrease on you, but it takes time, energy, and effort. And it takes people paying attention to it. And if you don't have good people paying attention to it, then that's when you start dying.
Oh, that gives me an incredible perspective on a question we've had this week. One of the guys I was talking to earlier today, we talked about growing too quickly. I'm going to kind of like play with it from that perspective too. If you're not growing, you're dying. By your definition, which I'm going to try to paraphrase real simply, it's like personal human engagement is fueled by a sense of growth, accomplishment, survival, achievement.
Yeah.
If that growth isn't occurring, it's kind of like idle hands at the devil's playground. They like wander off.
Yeah. And growth doesn't have to be revenue growth.
Doesn't have to be revenue growth. I'm going to talk about that too in a second. But what you just said is this right here doesn't keep people engaged. So like maintaining is actually loss.
Right.
This is right here, impossible concept. I tend to think you're right. If you want something to be level, you use the spirit level, right? Which is like a bubble of air in liquid.
Yeah.
Like water wants to be flat and level. And tell me the last time you walked outside and saw infinite expanses of flat, perfectly level water. It wants to move. So let's go the opposite direction too and talk about growth for growth's sake, overgrowth. That's kind of the other side of that coin. What do you feel like the risk is there of people getting out over their skis? Because you alluded to it earlier.
Sure.
When you're talking about people, hey, I've got a good idea, I'm going to bootstrap it. You like that.
Yeah. Growth for growth's sake is terrible. Totally against it. Right.
Yeah.
But again, growth doesn't have to come in the form of financial growth, right? It could come in the form of expanding whatever team member you have. They're wanting to learn something new, right? Or you're able to shift some things around to where, hey, you know what? Now that we've grown to here, we need to get our organizational chart set correctly. So people start getting to learn new spots or getting pushed a little further. But yeah, I mean, growth for growth's sake, that's something I'm vehemently against, right? It has to make sense. There's cultural growth that you can achieve, financial, whatever it is. There's a lot of different ways that as an organization, whatever it is that you're working on, you can be doing. It could just be execution growth, right? Can we get better at executing whatever it is we're trying to go and accomplish?
Historically, I've been very much like kind of an either or black and white type person. And now I like the concept that you can have opposing forces that live in harmony together. And like at some point, someone very wisely said, cash is king.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And after watching businesses for the last decade and a half. That's right. So like you have to make profit and you have to have retained earnings and you have to have cash. That's just a part of life. And like that also can't be on a downward trajectory. Like it could create some focus, but also people can lose their sense of stability and they suddenly start plummeting down the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it's like, woo, we
Yep.
have an ineffective team environment. So how do you think about that? Like, how do you frame kind of your center line for here's how we take profit and we think about profit in a way that's healthy and beneficial, but isn't edging over into greed or isn't just like, oh, well, it's all right. We're just doing this thing because we love it. Who cares if we make money?
That's a lot to unpack. I got a lot of different thoughts. One, when you say cash is king, I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy. Have been
Yeah.
my whole life. And I'm not saying everything is amazing, but if you look at what he does, right, as a baseline, it works for everybody. His principles. For me, kind of our shtick at Redbeard is we literally haven't done a deal that we had leverage going into it. Everything we've done has been all cash, which is a hard balance to strike because to have zero leverage, by the way, we've done an oil field service company with no leverage, not too uncommon. You don't typically go into those things starting up leveraging. We did a failed cookies and ice cream business in DFW with no leverage. Thank goodness there was no leverage. It would have been impossible to get out of.
Oh, yeah.
We did an oil and gas non-op fund with no leverage. We did a real estate limited partnership with 2 deals with no leverage. Right? Who does that? And so
Oh, nobody.
after we did that one and it worked, I was going, well, I think I'm finding my trend here. Like, what does Redbeard do that maybe some other groups don't? That's kind of been our deal. And this latest fund that we're doing is, again, no leverage. However, it's not like I don't believe in leverage, but I want to make sure I know our baseline is set so that as we move forward, we can leverage, but we've de-risked it by that time, right? Because going into a deal, as you know, figuring out 12, 24, 36 months in, what do we actually have? What does it actually look like? Then you can go back and refi it, pull people's money back, or use leverage only for growth, or depending on what their balance sheet or the situation's in. And then balancing, to kind of come back to your other question on balancing the profit and not being ho-hum about it, but not like that's all it's about. I like having a long-term outlook. If you're looking at a deal and it's like, well, if I'm stuck, right? If I buy XYZ and I'm stuck owning it for 10 years, what is my financial outlook? And am I okay with that? So when I'm analyzing a deal, the first place I go is worst case scenario. And if I pay cash, I'm starting off in a pretty good worst case scenario. I want to be able to live to fight another day, to take whatever it is the industry throws at me, whether it's interest rates running up on your real estate, whether it's oil and gas prices plummeting, or half your executive team walking out on you after you just bought this new business. You can weather a lot of storms by paying all cash, but later on, once you get into it, you got more options. But when you start buying stuff with cash, to me, you get a more realistic view of what is an acceptable rate of return, right? Because you're always pegging against the S&P 500 and making sure. And so if those are kind of your broad benchmarks and you can at least be able to do that, we're trying not to lose money. One, right? Warren Buffett, never lose money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. But we also told investors we're going to achieve XYZ. How do we do that to where we're doing our fiduciary duty, but we're also being responsible with it, right? Because I can tweak some things and do some financial engineering to achieve what I'm trying to. But if I have a group of investors and even a group like your team on the ground, if they have a reasonable outlook on what's acceptable and everyone's in it for the long haul, you're going to be able to make better decisions and not necessarily sacrifice that short-term gain for your long-term future. And to me, if you can keep that balance through the whole thing and kind of work through it, you're not going to sacrifice profit for people. You're not going to sacrifice your future for a quick hit and a pat on the back and an attaboy. And I just think it puts you in a position to win because we're on this earth for, I don't know what the average lifespan is now, 80 to 100 years. I don't know. It seems like it's going up, but maybe it's going down. You've got so much time to do that. And if you can maintain good relationships and always kind of put people first and try to make good decisions, you live to fight another day, because we're going to screw up. Out of those deals I just mentioned, we took 30 cents on the dollar on one of them. It was terrible, but we got in the next deal. And you just stay after it and try your hardest and do your best. It's hard to level set and not let anything outweigh the other. And you just got to always be refining and being real and trying to make the best decision, the next best step, I guess.
I want people to feel this connection because in the last 2 minutes, you talked about a cash policy, like a very strong cash heavy fiscal policy for investing. And it was interesting you mentioned that like you're not disrupting people and people's lives whenever you put yourself in a strong cash position. I just kind of noticed like your care for how do we have a business where everyone's living at the tippity top of the pyramid and being self-actualized and succeeding. And then we're going to make sure that we buy this business or do this investment in a way that doesn't undermine that unnecessarily and gives us lots of optionality in the future. Kind of as we wrap it up here, what has been a win? Like, how have you seen that line up into just like we jumped into a deal that really blesses all the people who are involved in it at every level? We brought cash to the deal, didn't use debt to get in there. And then tell me what happened.
Yeah, I could talk about all three of the failed deal. I already told you the blessing was we got to get out of it because it was a loser, but it allowed us to exit the bus. No one was stuck driving it into the side of the mountain. So we take our oil and gas deal, the first fund we put together, we raised all cash. I over raised. We started raising
Great.
when oil's at $40.
Oh, yeah.
Sure what the drilling program was going to look like. We have no control over it. And so we were too conservative. Ended up raising too much money. Only needed about 40% of the cash that we actually raised. So it made people feel confident, but we were still able to return everyone's money back in 43 months. So we've gotten all our money back plus a little, and now it's a annualized 20% return on their money, and oil's at $60. And so that's a big win for me. And if I could go back and is there a way to still accomplish all that, but put myself in a position to where I don't over raise because it would have juiced the returns if I raised, 60% less cash. I've got those thoughts. I'd probably rewrite that playbook a little bit, but I wouldn't change the fact that we paid cash and kind of steady Eddie on the investing and putting it to work. And then same thing on the real estate is the first time we put a real estate deal together. It's in Houston, Texas. All my investors are primarily oil and gas. We live in the center of the universe for oil and gas, the Permian Basin. Everyone who wants to invest wants to diversify. I shouldn't say everyone wants to. Everyone's kind of getting away from that diversification now because they're like, you know what? This is working really well.
It is working so well.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
The oil's there. Wildcatting's not really a thing anymore, and it's manufacturing. You can still wildcat. Don't get me wrong. There are people who still drill bad wells out on the edges, but for the most part, that's not what we do. But on the real estate deal, people were a little nervous because one, we had never done it. I'd only been a passive investor in dozens of various real estate deals. I had a new partner who I had never worked with. And so we go through it. It's all starting to work. Timing, luck, whatever you want to call it. Got lucky, got out of one of our buildings, got 85% of our money back, still own 60% of the original assets that we purchased. And we only got 15% of our original investment stuck in the deal. It's like a 20% internal rate of return based off what they have left in the deal and the cash they're getting back. So it's working really well. But yeah, I would say by doing it that way, the stress level of the team to go and execute it, you lengthen that way, you widen it too, because you can screw up on decisions. But because we paid cash, we had a wider runway. And because of our investor base, we had a longer runway. And a lot of it's under promising, over delivering. That's kind of what we do. It just gives you more optionality and people find peace in it, right? When you go to sleep at night and the S&P falls 8%, that's the hard part about public equities is you see it and you see just nothing but red on your statement. And if you're stuck logging into your account every day, and you can't do that in an alternative investment deal. You get an update every 3 months and no one's marking it to market necessarily because the values, unless you go get a third party appraisal or something, you don't mark it up that often. I have a lot of investors who have never invested before. That's probably another thing that I've done is a lot of this alternative investment game was for the wealthy.
It was. And not just wealthy, but like the ultra wealthy.
True family office money. People are cutting $5-10 million checks. And the only reason that is because the guys raising the money want to shortcut the time frame it takes to raise money. Because as you know, Ben, raising money is not like, you're working it. Your phone's
you work it.
It's hard.
You work it.
For me, starting Redbeard, I was like, you know what? My friends, people I love, the little guy, we're doing this. First ever alternative investment deal at the family office I was at. I got to put $5,000 in, and I was, pumped. Like,
I'm a beast. I'm investing.
I get a K1. Let's go. And so I try to make room for those people, educate them. But when you start paying cash for stuff, it's easier for them to understand and get their mind around it.
Yes.
Like, hey, my downside is a lot less. It just makes for a more peaceful, because you don't know how the deal's ultimately going to turn out. I've never seen a business plan or a pro forma that hit exactly what they said they were going to do.
Nope. There are versions of everything in life. This is like a rule. There's always versions of everything in life, and you can guarantee there are versions of a pro forma, and you can guarantee the person brokering the deal chose which version he sends out to everybody else. Like, there's an element of like, it's as true as they need it to be honest.
Exactly.
It's not going to over divulge.
Yeah. I mean, my dad always says, I've never seen a pro forma that didn't look good.
To buck that trend, we were recently doing a little transaction. I called the guys and I'm like, I'm going to send you this stuff on what we've got. Curious if anyone would be interested in buying this. And at any rate, it'd be nice for me to kind of have a mark on it. And they're like, great, send us the stuff. I was like, great. And also, by the way, I would not call this a good deal for us.
Sure.
So like, don't think that you're going to offend me if you send me a lowball offer, because like, I know.
Yeah.
But I want a fair offer. Like, I also know there's a fair offer too. But like,
Sure.
Don't think I'm sitting here just like so proud and you're going to hurt my ego. And you're like, oh man, that's like worth like 30% less what you think it is. It's okay. They're like, oh really? I'm like, yeah, this is how we're going to do business, man. Like, don't sit here thinking I'm not going to sell this to you like it's a cream pie. Like this is like a potato. You can eat it. It will keep you alive, but it's not pie.
There's some nutrition in it.
Stephen, if someone wants to get to know you a little bit better, what's the best way for them to do that?
Reaching out via email or even call me. You can go to our website. All my contacts info is on there, redbeardcap.com. And love to meet you, talk shop, whether you got a deal or you're just interested. I love teaching people. I love talking business, investments. It's what I do every day. I have a passion for it. Love helping people. Our number one rule at Redbeard is help as many people as possible and the money will follow. We lead with that. And I do a lot of things that don't make sense, that aren't scalable, especially when it comes to educating and helping people. And I love doing it. Yeah, reach out. Love to get in contact and chat.
Redbeardcap.com. We'll have that in the show notes. Thank you, Stephen. Everyone who's enjoying listening to him talk, we've got some wonderful other conversations with other folks similar to this one, where we get to follow these through lines that connect what we value to how we make decisions, lead businesses, invest. This is a great at-depth conversation. This gives you a wonderful flavor. You can always go to the atdepthpodcast.com and check out other episodes. I encourage all of you to subscribe on whatever newfangled subscription platform you're on these days. You can't keep up with them. I personally am an Apple Podcast listener. Some of you guys are Spotify listeners. If you want to watch our ugly mugs while we're talking on this, Stephen's got a great mug, so you should definitely go to YouTube and check this one out. Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the At Depth podcast.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks for joining us for this intentional conversation at depth. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a moment to subscribe and follow along. You can do this at theatdepthpodcast.com. Again, that's the atdepthpodcast.com. You'll find new episodes, show notes, and more conversations with entrepreneurs who are building what really matters. Until next time, keep going deeper and keep building at depth.